Welcome to the Productivity Podcast. Today, I'm joined by two guests from Metaspark, the founder, Stephen Costigan, and Thomas Fisher, who is head of growth and strategy. Hi, Stephen. How are you?
Great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Good. Thank you. Hi, Thomas. Welcome.
Thank you, Simon. Great to be here. Great to spend some time with you.
Good. So today, we're going to find out a bit more about Metaspark. Stephen and Thomas are going to fill us in on how they created the idea, how it was founded, kind of typical user cases, how we're driving productivity through it as well. So up for a really interesting conversation. But before we get into that detail, let's find out a bit about both of you. We'll start with you, Stephen. Give us a bit of a career biog, where you've worked previously, what you've done.
I'm the founder and the CEO of Metaspark, where we make the world's first end-to-end outcome delivery platform. Our customers report being more aligned with their company's mission and able to execute work that matters with their peers more effectively than ever before. And many of the customers that are answering the question of how does my work bring value to the organization for the first time? I've been in the technology industry for around 20 years, working in various startups as well as enterprise organizations like Capgemini, Morgan Stanley, and Microsoft.
So some amazing companies there and some groundbreaking work that we'll find out a little bit more about. But before we do that, Thomas, let's find out a bit about you again. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you've worked, who are you?
You bet, Simon. Yeah, so Thomas Fisher, and I'm the head of growth and strategy. I've spent the last 2 decades in some capacity in enterprise B2B, from frontline roles early on in my career to executive roles with companies like Deutsche Telekom and a variety of other companies in the sales enablement space like Miller Heiman Group and Thought Horizon. So anyway, that's kind of a little bit about me and my career.
Excellent. Okay, so let's dive into Metaspark then. So, Stephen, what created the idea? Was it one of those lightning bolt moments? Was it something that had been brewing in your mind for a long time? Where did the idea come from?
It definitely was a little bit of both. But I'll say that as I climbed the corporate ladder throughout my career, I've seen a lot of inequality in the stack ranking system that corporations use in general. And I think that's a pretty known thing. Ambiguity in goals versus the work each employee accomplished in the companies I was working for enabled a lot of review. I think a lot of bias in the review process. And for me, I never knew if what I was passionate about and what I was working on would move the goalpost for me or the company that I worked for. It was always an assumption on my part. And it didn't always result in the outcomes that I wanted. And I don't know if it was always result in the outcomes that the companies I worked for wanted.
Okay, so it kind of sounds like there was a disconnect there, or you were maybe working on something and you didn't know the value it was adding, or there wasn't a feedback loop to tell you that, that was really valuable work, Stephen, or actually next time we need to do this.
Right. And there's actually a stat that 70% of employees in companies leave meetings not really sure as to how to impact the outcomes that were decided in those meetings. They're not sure what to do.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. And they probably have a meeting to decide on that meeting, to decide on the meeting that they couldn't decide on before. There's meetingitis, isn't there? Certainly through COVID, we all met virtually, but I think it's perpetuated back to face now.
Absolutely.
Stephen, when did you found Metaspark?
Metaspark was founded in 2020. So it's about 2 years old now.
So that must have been then middle of pandemic almost.
Absolutely. It was not planned, but a very good time to start our platform, to start Metaspark.
Yeah, absolutely. So founded 2 years ago, middle of the pandemic. Clearly, lots of us had lots of time on their hands. Lots of great companies were born in that period as well. So let's get into the detail of, so what are the typical kind of problems that when you started the business and 2 years later that you're trying to solve for organizations?
Sure. So what we're doing with Metaspark is really trying to enable organizations to quickly construct applications across many, many use cases. So think CRM, think call center systems, think marketing, team alignment, all of this, being able to build solutions for all of these areas while reducing data entry so you have more efficient teams. We're also enabling better alignment between teams, having everyone on the same page. And then from a performance standpoint, our platform enables better performance management across sales, service, support, and frontline teams with the ability to design the focus of these teams through our goal setting and incentives system. And from a problem standpoint, we're really solving for poor alignment of work to resources, low levels of employee engagement, and attrition.
And probably a little off topic, but a question that's just popped into my head with the world being so challenging as we record, so war, coming out of pandemic, certainly in the UK, there's far more jobs than people that are willing to do them. Will your platform, do you think, help with that? Because you can't just keep paying people more. There's got to be more in terms of rounding off those meeting goals, expectations, job fulfillment.
I really love that you bring that up. And as you design a platform to enable more efficiency and to drive better alignment, you realize that incentives are great, but they really aren't why people take jobs or want to belong to an organization. They're looking, I think, especially in the frontline side of the house, people really care about the company that they work with, right? Membership and belonging to the team.
Yeah. So
you have to ask yourself, as an owner of one of these businesses who is trying to fill these positions, ask yourself and say to yourself, as much as we want to think that, frontline employees care about their hourly rate, the reality is most of the time they could make this money in any established company. So how does what I do matter in this world? That's the question that most of these individuals, I believe, are trying to answer. And what matters to them more than money. Money's required, but you can make money anywhere. So if you've got an amazing story and an amazing mission that someone can align themselves with and they feel like they belong, that is much more powerful than any monetary reward.
I think there's some stats out there around, again, even pay rises are only really short term. So if someone is set to leave an organization because they don't buy into the goals, and we'll come to that in a second, even if you give them a pay rise, within 3 to 6 months, they're disincentivized again because those core underlying principles they didn't buy into still exist.
Right. What is my mission?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
How does it align to my passion? So if I'm passionate about Levi jeans, how can I better understand as a frontline worker how what I do every day impacts the overall success of the particular, Levi's product line that I love the most? That is much more powerful than any incentive, monetary incentive.
So how do we shift the dial and how do we align those workers to the company goals? How do we kind of cement over the cracks or even build a stronger bridge so there are no cracks?
Right. So just getting people to have more skin in the game in terms of their understanding and alignment and their purpose inside the organization. And I do this often, but I'll ask an executive to just, take a step back for a moment and answer, how does the work that I do every day align with my company's mission and purpose? How am I driving that? And many cannot answer that question. And the reason is because it's not a focus. Yes, there's a review that happens every year. Yes, there are company goals, but there's no direct linkage between the activities that executive performs every day and how that drives the company forward in its purpose, its mission, and its goals. And we're solving that.
And how do you solve it within the solution? What things are available and what kind of bits around the solution help join all that together?
Yeah, sure. So, for the first time ever, we're focused on the outcomes in our technology. There's really no other solution out there that does what our platform does, and that's because I think most startup founders are very focused on a very specific, small portion of the overall problem of delivering outcomes effectively inside of organizations. And so what we're doing is we're taking the planning, execution, the measurement components, and we're linking them together in real time in our platform. And then we're providing AI-based machine learning, driven insights into how work's getting done inside the organization. So someone can see if they complete project X, or they hit metric, Y, how that impacts the overall company's mission. It's all visualized in Metaspark.
And that data is coming from various different sources, so from colleague input, handheld devices, various IT systems. Is that right?
Right. So that's a component of the planning and execution part of Metaspark, where you can plan out projects, you can import data from different systems. And our goal with the planning and execution pieces was to keep data entry as low as possible. So if you're planning out a series of activities that need to be executed in order to achieve a mission or a goal, most of that is already defined somewhere. And so what's happening today is organizations have projects or tasks sitting in remote systems or defined in 3 different project management platforms because there's no linkage today. And so Metaspark provides this pretty innovative workspace, or really as many workspaces as you want, but you can create a workspace where you can bring data in from every platform as activities, things to be done, and you can have them all on one screen. And it doesn't matter what technology that those items are sitting in today. We connect to over 1,000 different platforms. We allow you to bring in the data, visualize it the way you want, and execute against it.
How do you measure this and ensure there's the ongoing engagement and alignment? Because it sounds like a great platform and a great basis to build those new bridges, but clearly we need to keep that momentum going to make sure we don't end up back where we started.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess it kind of is critical that you're able to measure what's happening across the organization on multiple dimensions. So what we've done is we built machine learning based, what we like to say is 3D insights that really looks at the performance of employees and teams. Also, how they're aligning to the goals that have been set, and then provides wellness. And it really revolutionizes the way managers understand their people. We focus them on how the employees are performing against the company's mission while ensuring they have insight into wellness factors that could contribute to attrition and burnout. And it's really amazing the results that we've seen with our customers. Absolutely amazing. We have identified several instances of low engagement before employees have decided to leave. So in the beginning, when we were fine-tuning our models, we were hearing reports from several CIOs that they had identified that their lowest engaged employees were the ones who were leaving the company. So we tuned the model, and now we're able to actually forecast and help prevent attrition. And we've done so 2 or 3 times, even in the last quarter with our customers. So we're seeing great results there. It's really exciting.
Yeah, amazing. And I know that's a challenge. I'm sure kind of your side of the Atlantic, certainly our side, is with one, recruiting people, as we talked about in the early part of this chat, but 2, then keeping people. So that ability to be able to see that, proactively do something about it before it happens, I'm sure will really, really excite people. And Thomas, have you got any additional bits to build on from the comments from Stephen there?
Yeah, I mean, not specific to, the insights, but just kind of putting a bow on everything. The pandemic, which was horrific for the entire globe, just amplified, a lot of problems that already existed and why Metaspark was formed. But if you look at, kind of the overall market reaction and what did we lose as, and that was amplified as part of the pandemic, the loss of consistency, loss of visibility, loss of serendipity. And I'm only bringing these things up because as we work and continue to do development in Metaspark, we are maniacal about not doing what, organizations typically are doing right now to combat those things. So, adding more meetings to kind of recreate visibility or serendipity. And, you also got to throw in generational sociology. There's a different mindset with the younger, those younger workers. They want meaning and they want to be understood. And that is what we are passionate about. Work no longer is a place, it's an experience. And that's where we really, really shine, is we make it an experience, even though everyone, somebody could be at their home, someone could be at the office, someone could be, at Starbucks working. We're focused on making work an experience, not a place.
Amazing. That's the bow on the present. We'd probably say the cherry on the cake. In the UK, but they all mean the same thing. So who's going to share the HMV story? Because we talked about this offline, and I love this story.
Yeah, I can talk about that a little bit. I think the synopsis of that story was just how right actually goes back to just how right what Tom said is that the workplace today is an experience. And companies should be striving for that with their employees. And it goes back to the days and I say that because, when I was younger and I worked as a frontline worker at HMV Records, for me, the most exciting time of the day was going down the street and selecting kind of what I was going to have for lunch. Right. And that's kind of a sad story. Yeah. And it kind of goes back to how organizations see employees and the way in which employees were engaged in the organization and the culture back then really has no place today. I would say, though, that as a frontline worker at that company, it would have been much more exciting if I had Metaspark by my side, right? And every time I scanned a CD at the cash register, which I stood at for like 6 hours or 7 hours every day, I would see my incentives increasing. Or even if I saw that my store's overall performance was increasing based on the activity that I was performing, I feel like I would have been much more incentivized in that job. And it really doesn't take much, right? Just the ability to visualize the performance, to visualize your impact on the company, its success, the different product line success. Really, there's a million use cases that I could come up with. But if I could see the result of my action as someone at HMV and the positive impact I was having, that would have been game changing and would have really, I think, improved culture and my engagement at that organization.
Yeah, back to some of the original kind of things you said around having some skin in the game and being part
absolutely.
of that bigger movement. Okay, so I think you've set the scene really well. If people want to find out more about Metaspark, get some more information, where's the best place for them to reach out?
Sure. It's easy to find us. Just type in Metaspark in Google and we're the first result on that search engine. Or you could look for Metaspark on LinkedIn. You'll find us there quite quickly. You'll see sort of an Olympic torch, which is our logo.
Brilliant. And then final questions for you both, for everybody that comes on the podcast gets this one. So what's the best bit of business advice you've ever been given? We'll start with you, Stephen.
Well, I give this advice to my children. And it's so important. It's not really, I don't know if it's business advice, but it's the most important advice I've ever received. And that's to identify your passion early and bring your passion into everything you do. And try not to do anything that doesn't include it because, if you can do that, you'll wake up every morning inspired and excited. And that's exactly how I live my life. Inspired and excited about it.
Love that one. Thomas?
How do I follow that?
I know you've got a tough act to follow now. He set you up there.
I've got a couple, when I started a business, I was told very early on, at your first opportunity, hire into your weakness. And the other thing too, I think this was maybe my first promotion into an executive role. I had a mentor who was at C-level for many, many years, said, listen, Tom, you're going to want to be great at everything. You pick 3 things and make those your pillars that you're great at. No more, no less. 3. And surround yourself with terrific people.
I think you followed that well. They're good. I like those. No, that's good. Guys, been an absolute pleasure having you on to chat. I'm really excited about the stuff you're doing. Urge everybody to reach out, LinkedIn, as we said, or via the Metasport website, because it's certainly, as we record, it's that moment in time of it's going to help solve or at least help people not get to situations that are going to be really critical in their business based on trying to recruit, trying to retain. So again, thanks for me for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure. Well,
thank you, Simon. We appreciate you and what Rethink Productivity is doing, and it's been fun and a real pleasure.
Brilliant. Take care, guys.